When should you take your vitamins? Well, most of the time they say you don't really even need a daily multivitamin because you should be getting most of your nutrients in your diet. But oftentimes that's not the case. Whether you have poor absorption from a condition, or maybe just getting older, you're not absorbing things as well, or you have interactions from different medications, you need some vitamins and minerals to help you out. If you're going to take them, you should take them properly so it's not a wasted effort. The problem is if you take a single multivitamin, we know there are some nutrients that do better if you take it with food, and there are others that do better on an empty stomach. So how are we going to know how much you're actually absorbing? That's why it might be better to take separate supplements if you can, if you only have a couple to take. Let's break it down. First, we're going to talk about the water-soluble vitamins, which are the B and the C. Now, unfortunately, you kind of have to take these frequently because your body does not want to store them, so you may have to take them almost daily. And the B vitamins would be those including B1, B2, whether it's thiamine, riboflavin, folic acid, B12, which is cobalamin, which is kind of the most common one that we generally hear about, right? Taking vitamin B12. And now imagine you're taking that plus C vitamins. You want vitamin C and you want your vitamin B12. But you shouldn't take those together. You should actually take your vitamin C about 2 hours after you take your vitamin B12, because then you're going to have better absorption of the vitamin B12. Otherwise, those two tend to interact with each other and you may not get as much vitamin B12 as you think you're getting. Also, sublingual, which is underneath your tongue vitamin B12, is actually pretty good. It mixes with your saliva and the absorption is very good. Almost sometimes as much as when you get a shot of B12. So those sublingual B12s, try them out if you wanted to avoid shots. It may or may not be enough for you. Next, let's talk about the fat-soluble vitamins, which are vitamin A, D, E, K. So these have to be taken, and they're called fat soluble because they should be taken with a fatty meal. Now, it does not have to be a big elaborate big pie of pizza or anything like that. A fatty meal meaning it could be an avocado taco or a handful of nuts when you take your A, D, E, or K vitamins. So let's talk about vitamin D, which you've probably heard a lot about because vitamin D is associated with so many things. Now, if you have a mild deficiency, it probably isn't going to make a difference. You're not going to notice anything very obvious. But if you have a severe deficiency, it can be associated with depression, trouble moving, trouble walking, even falls. There is a risk with low vitamin D and having falls. So it's a good idea to kind of improve that. Other things that could be involved are bone pain or even fractures of your bones if you have low vitamin D, because vitamin D is a building block for bones. People who don't get outside as much or have darker skin, they may have problems absorbing the vitamin D, or people who are older or have anything else going on. These all can lead to problems of absorption of vitamin D. So you may need to get that checked, and it's fairly easy to do supplementation for it. Vitamin D can be taken any time of day, actually. There are some reports, though, that it can make you feel very hyper. So a lot of people try to avoid taking it at night when they feel like really revved up after taking their vitamin D. But just check it out. It may not affect you. Iron. Iron is another very common vitamin that we tend to take, and that one you should probably try to take with vitamin C or something with citrus related to it. For example, if you're going to take your iron, take it maybe with a glass of orange juice. But if you can't handle that, or if you forget, then you could try taking on an empty stomach. That's usually the next best thing. Now, a lot of people, when they take iron supplementation though, they feel really queasy in their stomach if they take it by themselves. If that's an issue for you, then you might want to take it after a meal, like right away after it. And eventually you'll see if your iron stores are improving or not with lab values, and if that's the right way to take it for you. One thing you definitely don't want to do is taking iron with calcium. So you can take your iron with a glass of orange juice, but do not take your iron with a glass of milk, because the calcium and the iron can interact with each other and you will not absorb the iron as well if you're taking it with a lot of calcium. What if you want to take mineral supplementation? For example, taking calcium for your bones, or taking zinc for some colds, or taking perhaps magnesium for leg cramps or even constipation. So how should you take these? Well, you may not want to take them all together. You can take them usually with a meal, but maybe different meals or different snacks and not together, if you can. So magnesium plays an important role in liver and kidney function, but also for your bones, because magnesium is often needed to help the vitamin D to be absorbed in the body. And for example, the enzymes that are responsible for metabolizing vitamin D all seem to require some magnesium. So if your magnesium level is too low, then your vitamin D may not get absorbed. And this can affect your bones. What can magnesium help us with? It can help constipation and it can be used as a laxative. It can help indigestion. And for example, some people take magnesium by mouth as an antacid, and that can help with heartburn and indigestion. And a lot of different kind of magnesium compounds can be used, including magnesium hydroxide. Magnesium can also help seizures, and we know when women are in labor, sometimes they use magnesium for that. Also, if you have low magnesium, that's been more associated with something called metabolic syndrome, which is linked to diabetes and heart disease and stroke. So it may be that you need enough magnesium in your body to prevent some other conditions. So what kind of foods give us magnesium? Well, here's a tip. So foods that are high in fiber often have a lot of magnesium in them. For example, legumes, whole grains, vegetables, especially broccoli, squash, maybe some green leafy vegetables. Also some nuts like almonds and seeds. These tend to have more magnesium in it if you prefer to get it by food. Something else with magnesium is that there are lower levels of magnesium oftentimes during menopause. Hormone replacement therapy, there's been a lot of buzz about this, and that can maybe help stabilize the magnesium. So you may or may not need supplementation then, but it can be associated with menopause. Another popular one is thyroid medication. So a lot of people are on thyroid medication. You're supposed to take that in the morning before you have any food, about 30 to 60 minutes before you have any food. But if you take the minerals a few hours within the time slot of your thyroid medication, then you may not get good absorption. And what do I mean by the minerals are calcium, magnesium, or iron within a few hours of taking the thyroid medication. So you kind of have to watch it too. A quick thought about vitamin K. So a lot of people that are on blood thinners, like something like warfarin, are afraid to take vitamin K, which also is an essential vitamin. The trick is with vitamin K and being on a blood thinner though, is you kind of have to take a consistent amount. For example, if you love having your strawberry spinach salad, which has good amount of vitamin K in it, then you could do that daily if you want to, or the exact amount every week so that you know you're getting the same amount of vitamin K in case they need to adjust your medications. So it's all about adjusting and kind of following the levels, but you may be able to eat these foods. You just can't take a massive amount and then take none at all. What if you take too many vitamins and you get vitamin toxicity? For example, excess amounts of vitamin E can cause bleeding. Sometimes it can damage your organs, or you can get kidney stones from excess amount of vitamins, so you don't want to do that. I often put people on vitamin D supplementation. I don't often see toxicity of vitamin D unless I'm prescribing something and they're getting another prescription from a different physician. Then sometimes I do see vitamin D toxicity. Usually, since we follow the levels, we're able to catch it in time before terrible symptoms tend to start, like fatigue and all the associated symptoms with vitamin D toxicity. But it can happen, so you can go overboard with this stuff. So don't do that either. For example, right now there's a lot of buzz about taking magnesium and vitamin D together. Maybe it'll give you more energy. But please don't exceed the recommended amounts that are listed, because that can harm you. The most common vitamins you tend to need as you get older are vitamin D, iron, and B12. So especially pay attention to those, and hopefully the other ones will work around it and you can get it from food. So oftentimes the best way is to get it from your diet. I know it doesn't work for everybody, and if that's the case, then pay attention to some of these different timings. But if you're going to take these vitamins or minerals, you want to take it right, because they want that to work. So that's the way we look at it. I hope you learned a little bit about how to take your vitamins and minerals, and if you have any comments, please leave them. Press subscribe if you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time for more information on how to live a healthy life with Dr. Banasali.